Alrighty, Jessica. It's been lovely chatting with you off camera here. I'm excited to speak to you about your professional experience. We had a moment to discuss the role and the duties that it entails off camera. Now, Miss Jessica, I would love for you to tell me a little bit about your professional experience.
Yes, absolutely. I have almost a decade of experience in regards to administrative work and helping operations. So I have a background in administrative, payroll, documentation, employee confidentiality, and I just am looking for an environment that I can go ahead and continue to support operations so that I can go ahead and collaborate with teams to, make the organization smooth.
Absolutely. Amazing introduction, Jessica. I want to now discuss your most recent role because you were working at the United Maritime Surveyors, which I believe your role was like was it mega yacht? You tell me more about that. Tell me
Absolutely.
about
So the main company was Mega Yacht Technical Services, and the sister company was United Maritime Surveyors. So practically, I was an administrative assistant, and that's where I usually did like the yacht documentation. I went to go ahead and schedule surveys that had to go ahead and take place. I had information from employees to make sure that they had all of the documents that they needed to be on top of like the yachts. I did payroll with them. I did like printing and creating manuals so that the employees knew exactly where to go in regards to referencing. Like if anything were to happen on the ship, they would know exactly what to do. And just a lot of tracking for their certificates. And yeah.
Amazing. And so you mentioned that you were doing payroll there. What system were you utilizing for payroll?
So for their payroll, it was a little bit different. I would actually manually have to do it via Excel. So every month I would have to like add it up, obviously using like formulas on Excel because Excel's amazing. So I would just use formulas, but that was usually the thing. I would actually have to manually make the pay slips and then send them individually to every single seafarer. And we had about 25 vessels and then about 12 to 25 people on each vessel. So individually, I was doing it.
All right. And doing it manually is a whole task in itself.
Yeah.
So I commend you for that. And then at that role, were you handling any kind of conversations over the phone, via email with the yacht owners or anyone in particular?
Not yacht owners per se. I did get in contact with a lot of chief officers or captains to go ahead and discuss like what they needed and if they had any discrepancies in any of the forms that they provided us. And then when it came to seafarer agreements, which is practically their contracts, I had to go ahead and make sure that every information was correct, send it to the captains so they can send it back, and then we just maintained the confidentiality for each one.
Amazing. All right, perfect. Now, the next role you worked at was at City Furniture as a sales associate, which the role and the duties are in the name, sales, right?
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about that role.
So that one is practically, selling furniture. I just want to
Mhm.
go ahead and make sure that they were selecting items that they wanted due to like their preference. And then I would make sure that the delivery was being scheduled, that the building that they also were living in had a coordination with the delivery drivers. I would have to follow up with the customer to make sure that they were going to be home, or if their furniture went backdated, I had to go ahead and call them and say like, hey, I know that we scheduled for this day, but there is an issue. This is during COVID mostly. There was an issue, so we have to go ahead and postpone it for another day, and just had to handle any conflicts that arose with that one. But it was mostly just, selling and scheduling.
Awesome. And then prior to that, I see you worked at FedEx Freight Service Center Support, which is at a call center nonetheless. Tell me a little bit about that role.
So that one, it was mostly I was a driver check-in, so it was for freight. So I had to make sure that all of the drivers were delivering everything that they were scheduled to deliver or picking up. And then sometimes they started like cross training me. So I would handle with like anything that came back broken, any complaints. And then they also had me go into billing. So I was a service center support. It wasn't just calling. I dealt a lot with customers that were just like, you guys are late. But yeah, that's basically what it was.
Awesome. And then prior to that, you were working as a medical record specialist over at the Miami Beach Medical Group. Tell me about that role.
So that role was very simple. It was like my first job. So I was going ahead and just scanning like medical records that we would receive from the doctors, making sure that we had it into the patient files. And then if we have any referrals, I would work with the referral department to go ahead and call other centers to make sure that, we can go ahead and first of all, have the patient scheduled with the other side, but also send any medical documents that we needed for them to have.
Amazing. Now, all in all, you have well over 10, you mentioned earlier in the call, right? Over a decade of experience in customer service. So, it's in person, whether it's in email or the phone, etc. You have that exposure. Now, when it comes down to customer service, Jessica, what does customer service mean to you?
It is just handling any inconvenience or any inquiries that they have, just to make sure that we can go ahead and resolve those problems. I like to go ahead and make sure that those problems are settled so that, they don't have any bad taste in their mouths with the company. So that's practically what customer service is for me.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to the systems, right? I know I asked you about payroll systems, but any other systems that you've used, are familiar with, whether it's a Google system, Microsoft, tell me about those systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I am used to Microsoft especially, but then we also used a little bit in QuickBooks when it came to the Mega Yacht Technical Services. I used to do a little bit of accounting, so I used QuickBooks very briefly until we switched over to a system called Volley, and that one's specifically for yacht accounts. So for that one, I would just have to make sure like all the purchases that were being made, all the invoices that were going out or sent in, to make sure that they weren't fraud, I guess you can say. Make sure that the yachts were purchasing exactly what they were saying they were purchasing. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's fun. Tedious but fun role. Now, Jessica, my last question for you is going to be, when were you looking to just start a new role?
Well, I was looking for July 7th. Yeah.
Awesome. So in the next 2 weeks, you're going to start a new opportunity. That's amazing. Now, Jessica, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this interview. It's been amazing chatting with you and getting to know your professional experience a bit more, but don't hang up on me. I want to continue chatting with you really quickly off camera.
Sounds good.
Thank you.